going on today, people? This is the Jewish Giraffe back again with another video. So this video I'm going to be talking about some cards that are very favorable in the meta right now. This deck is also not perfect, so ignore this deck. This is just the main one I have for them right now. But I'm going to be talking about Horus level 6 and Horus level 8. Actually, I'm going to go open up a different deck. That is just the one I've been using for the time being. Is it the best? No. Is there better ways to do it? I think absolutely. So I'm just going to pull up some random one and talk about Horus level 6 and level 8. So I'm going to start with arguably the easier one to acquire, which is Horus level 6. So Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 6. It's got some incredible artwork. It's a fire dragon type, and it's got 6 stars. This is a new card. It's unaffected by spell effects, and during the end phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle this turn, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard, special summon Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8 from your hand or deck. So, reasons why this card is good. It's pretty easy to summon. I mean, you can tribute, you can soul exchange, you can bring it out. I think you could even run this as a Mausoleum deck if you really wanted to. I think this could be good in a Destiny draw deck. It's good in certain balance decks. It's good in Restart, etc. So it negates all spells that affect this monster. So it specifically says this card is unaffected by spell effects. It doesn't have to be targeted, just any spell effect does not affect this card, which is top-notch in this meta, which is heavily spell-reliant, but now it's a little bit more trap-reliant, which is something else I'm going to talk about. At the end of this video, I think I'm going to talk about just the pack in general, what I think of it, because I haven't really done that in a concise manner so far. Another thing is that it's got a good defense. 1600 defense is relatively good in this meta, and lastly, it only needs 1 kill to bring out Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8. When I'm making this video, I'm saying which is better. This is not a you should only run one of these, because that's impossible. You really need to run level 6 or level 6 and level 8. You can't run level 8 by itself. So this is just mainly talking about you've got the level 6, you can bring out the level 8, do you, do not, etc. Which of these is arguably better? Obviously, level 8 in a head-to-head would beat a level 6, but I'm talking about which is worth more bang for your buck, because Horus Black Flame Dragon level 6, its main bring down points, or its main weaknesses, are pretty much just that it has 2300 attack. In a 2600 or 2400 attack meta with Red Eyes, it's just a little bit weak. You can get around this. I myself have been running Metal Morph. I think people could be using other ways to boost. You can run Beatdown, but that's going to lead a little bit to a brick. If you don't want to run level 8, I mean, you can run decks that focus on Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 6 and just have Beatdown, etc. You could have, what's that field spell that boosts all your monsters' attack by 300? That card could even work for this. So let's talk about level 8 for 1 second. So Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8, it is an 8-star monster, of course, fire, dragon, same thing. Badass card picture right there. That is some amazing artwork right there. So the pros for it are obviously its high attack and defense. Its ability reads cannot be normal summon or set, must first be special summoned by Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 6, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. During either player's turn, when a spell card is activated, you can negate the activation and if you do, destroy it. You must control this face-up card to activate and resolve this effect. So it just destroys spells straight up. Your opponent can't even play a spell card when you've got Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8 up. Your opponent can target other things. They could be using enemy controllers to take your other monsters if you have just level 6 up, but level 8 says no, none of that is happening. It just, you can negate the activation and destroy it, which is pretty nice. The problem with this one is it's got no normal summon methodology, so you can't tribute 2 monsters for this. You have to use level 6 to bring it out, which means that having this in your hand is basically a brick, which is one of the other main downsides to this. Is if you draw this in your opening hand, that's a dead card. Until you bring out level 6 and getting a kill with level 6, this card is dead in the water, and that's at least turn, like, well, let's say you draw it, you're up first, you summon a monster, say you get to tribute that monster for Horus level 6 and attack, that is turn 3 at the earliest, you're bringing this card out. Whereas otherwise, Horus could be brought out on turn 2 if you've got a soul exchange. Additionally, with its difficult summoning, it's only got a slightly higher defense than level 6, but I don't think that's too big of a deal, since it does have that nice beefy attack stat. So this thing only has to worry, they both really only have to worry about trap cards. So getting down into the nuts of it, which is better? Arguably, I would say that level 6 is better in this meta just because of how easy it is to summon. Level 8 is obviously a good finisher, and any level 6 deck should be running level 8, but I think just bang for your buck, it depends on the situation. But most times, I think you're going to be able to get by with just a level 6 unless you're facing some sort of Mega Red Eyes, or if you're facing Invader of Darkness. Honestly, you're going to need a level 6 unless Well, unless those, you're going to need level 8. Getting into some decks for these, there's a lot of options you can do. I want a third Horus before I start making some videos on decks, because I have a couple decks. You saw that first one at the beginning of the video. That's one I've been running. I've seen people running a lot of... I've seen Destiny Draw level up. I've seen Mausoleum of the Emperor level up, etc. So there's a lot of options for that. Now I'm going to talk about the pack real quick. Just go over a couple things for it, because I talked a little bit about it in stream, and I've talked about it in a different video. Or, no. So it's interesting. When I did my pack opening video, I was actually talking during it, but then the audio got messed up, so I just took it out. So, also I talked to... Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm just going to talk about some cards that I like in here. I'm going to give my overall opinions for this, and then I'm going to end the video there. So, I think Horus is really changing the meta. Black Flame. Flame Tiger is changing the meta. I think Canine Tar is really changing the meta, and I think Card Guard has a big chance to change the meta. Magical Something definitely has potential to change the meta if you get 3. And of course Floodgate Trap Hole is definitely going to be a meta card. Otherwise, not much else in this pack matters. I'm only going to talk about the super rares and ultra rares for this, because I think that's all that matters. Evil Dragon Ananta, you got to run a reptile deck for this. Okay. So my ranking system usually goes from 1 to 5, and a card that's ranked as a 5 you can slap into any deck, and it's pretty much necessary in any deck. A card that's a 1 is you'll never use this, don't even go for it. Evil Dragon Ananta is probably a 3.5 to a 4, because it's really good in reptile decks, but otherwise it doesn't really function, and you need to have cards on the field and in the graveyard for it to really work, making it more of a last gamble material than anything, and it's a finisher. Plus, at it, as I was saying, Evil Dragon Ananta, it's more of a last gamble material than anything, and it's not super good. That's why I'm giving it a 3.5 to 4. It's still really good, don't get me wrong, and the attack and defense can be really high depending on what you do. But I think there are certainly more meta cards. This is only meta in a reptile deck anyway. So moving on, I forgot to swipe. Horse Black Flame Dragon level 8. I think that this card is easily a 4 out of 5 or 4.5 out of 5. This card is definitely going to define the meta, and it's super hard to get around. You must be prepping for this card. Next, Magical Something. I give this card probably like a 2.5 to a 3. It's really good in beatdown decks, and it's really good in Power of Dark decks. The level increase is really nice, and bringing back quick play spells. It's really good, but it doesn't just fit into every deck like a lot of things do. It's still really good, and I think like there's going to be better spell counter decks. You get 3 of these, you get 3 Spell Power Grasp, and I don't know, you get a Skilled Red Magician, you slap all that together, like it's going to be great. Let's see, Card Guard. I think that so I'm probably hyping up this card more than it should be. I personally love this card, and I think it is a meta card. I think the 1900 attack is fantastic, and I really see few problems with it other than its low defense, and the fact that it only can generate 1 guard counter at all, which is why I'm probably going to give it somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4. I think this card is super amazing. King of the Swamp, this card, as DK put it, and I really agree with what he said, this is not a card that is super meta right now, but this is a card you want to get for future meta purposes. This is a card that's going to be really good in fusion decks forever. So I think that right now this is more of a 3, but in the future this will probably be a 4 to a 5. This is for fusion decks. When I say it's a 5, that's not something you should put in every deck. Okay, I should have explained this better. If I say it's a 5, it's decks that it belongs in. Like there's obviously like I don't know. I think Sphere Karibo is a 5, but I don't think you should put a Karibo in every deck. But you get what I'm saying. 5-Headed Dragon, I actually give this card like a 2, maybe a 1.5. This card is super hard to summon, and even then, its ability doesn't really come into effect. If its ability said it was unaffected by spell and trap cards, this card would be amazing. But I've tried a couple decks to try and bring it out, and every time I bring it out, I've brought it out multiple times, I just can't win with it. It's really impossible. Arcana Knight Joker, I think this card is pretty garbage. It's hard to get out. The attack is good, the defense is good, but you have to discard a card to activate its effect. So it's basically always Ultimate Providence, which I think is one of the best trap cards in the game, of course, but its summoning conditions are too difficult, in my opinion. Book of Tayo, this card is garbage. I don't think it should be an ultra rare, it should be a super rare. Oh, Arcana Knight Joker, that's definitely a 1. Book of Tayo, I think, is a 1 to a 2. It really isn't that good. And Defusion, I think, is really good in fusion decks. This is a good... it's basically like the Ninjutsu Arts of Transformation, but for fusion cards. And I would probably give this a 4 to 5. It's really good. Just target one fusion monster on the field, return the target to the extra deck, then if all the fusion materials were used for its fusion summon, you can special summon all of them. So I actually don't know how this works for sure, but I think you can target one fusion monster on the field and target your opponent's fusion monster. Oh, no, never mind. It says in your graveyard. I thought it would say in a graveyard. But, yeah, okay. Anyway. Floodgate Trap Hole, I think that this card is a meta-defining card. I think that this is going to be in just about every deck. Like, you could run one of these in so many... This is basically like Mirror Wall 2.0, and I think that this card is easily a 5. I'm not going over specifically what they all say, because some of these you should know by now. BS Tetran, I think that this card is pretty good. It's got the nice defense, low attack though. You can, whatchamacallit, Soul Exchange, bring this thing out, and you can start popping your opponent's back row. And yeah, I mean, it's just pretty good. I would give that card probably like a 3. Horus of Black Flame Dragon level 6, I give this card a 4, easy. This thing is defining the meta. If only it was slightly higher attack, it would be probably a 5. BS Crystal Core, I think this card's pretty bad. I'd probably give it like a 2, maybe. It's not super good. What is it? It changes your opponent's attack position monsters to defense position. That's alright, but I mean, that's basically just econ, and you have to sacrifice for this card, and it's only got 1,000 defense. Noble Man-Eater Bug, I would give this card probably a 2, but I think that this thing has potential in Mausoleum decks. You Mausoleum of the Emperor, set this thing for 1,000 life points, your opponent attacks into it, they probably think it's a Feng Huang, and you destroy 2 of their monsters. Super nice. Although I don't think it works if there's not 2 monsters on the field besides it. Boxer, I think this card's pretty good. I got a Prismatic of it, and there's a deck I'm working on. I haven't actually had a chance to test it yet, but I think it'll be pretty cool. This is definitely not something that belongs in every deck. This only has specialized things around it, and even then, it's kind of hard to make that deck because we don't have a ton of Earth monsters yet that are game-breaking. So I'd probably give this card a 2.5 to a 3. Flame Tiger, I think this card is amazing. This thing belongs in Sacrifice decks, and this thing belongs in Beast Rising decks. I would probably give this a 3.5 to a 4. Canine Tar, I think this is super good in its Beast decks. I'd give this a 3.5 to a 4 as well. Get yourself 3 copies of this. Like, amazing. Fusion Recycling Plant I think is super good as well. It belongs in a lot of Fusion decks, but I wouldn't run multiple copies of it. I'd probably only run 1 or 2 at most, and therefore I'd probably give it a 3 to a 3.5. Army Ninjutsu Art of Alchemy. This card's pretty good. I have 2 of it, but I don't really have a lot of ninja cards, so I don't see myself using it, and therefore I haven't really given much thought to its application. Yeah, I think it's good for sending things to the graveyard, and it's good to draw, but I think that this is still only like maybe run 1 copy of this in a deck, and for that reason I'm probably going to give it like a 2. Or no, not a 2, maybe like a 3. Gaia Power, that's a 1, you don't need that card. Typhoon, this card is good. I talked about this in my stream today. If this card is in your hand and your opponent has 2 more, you can activate this on your opponent's turn, which is really nice. You can also activate it in the battle step, so you go for an attack. Your opponent flips up their Mirror Wall. You have no back row. You activate this thing from your hand, and bam! It just instantly takes out their Mirror Wall, and you don't even Mirror Wall doesn't affect. Also, it's turn 1. Your opponent sets a Toon Kingdom. They set it play a Toon Kingdom. They set anything in the back row. You flip this thing up. You destroy their Toon Kingdom. It's that easy. And then damage equals Reptile. This is another card that goes into Reptile decks. It's not super amazing, but I think it is pretty good. I'm also terrified of snakes, fun fact, so I don't see myself ever running a Reptile deck just because I'd be scared of my own cards. But yeah, it is good for special summoning reptiles, and this is good for Ananta, so you can bring it out just a little bit easier and you get to special summon cards more. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about Dark Lucius because that card is garbage. That's all I have to say about this. If you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm right, post it down in the comments down below. You want to see me run any kind of decks with any of these cards, let me know that as well. I'm going to try and get more of these once I get more gems. Yeah, that's just about it. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. This is the Jewish Giraffe signing off.